Bring up my stuff. Shimmer. Pull this on out. It's ready to go. Yeah. Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Okay. All right. There we go. Yeah, we good over here. First Chronicles. All right, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Glad to see you, everybody. Okay, there we go. All right, everybody. It is Thursday, April the 29th, 2021, day 140 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 809. That's 809, beautiful people. Today we're reading First Chronicles chapter 2, 3, and 4. Shayla, Aliyah. All right, y'all. Okay. Yeah, I know, Aliyah. I said I was going to be trying different head wraps. I was wearing it up for a little while a few months ago. Then I changed it. Now I'm getting tired of it. So I was like, okay, let's do something different. Okay, y'all. Okay. What's up? Got this going over here. All right, beautiful people. Let's start with the Shema. Pay attention, everybody. Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God, and you shall love Yahuwah, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before you, who are our God, as he has commanded us. Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and hop right on over to the reading today. All right, y'all. First Chronicles chapter 2. The sons of Israel were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Judah had 3 sons from Bathsheba, a Canaanite woman. Their names were Onan, and Shelah. But Yahuwah saw that the oldest son, was a wicked man, so he killed him. Later, Judah had twin sons from Tamar, his widowed daughter-in-law. Remember, he sought out a prostitute, not realizing it was his daughter-in-law, because he had made a promise to her that he would give her his oldest son, Shelah, when he became of age. And he had no intention of doing it. So she disguised herself like a prostitute, went up, slept with Judah when he came through town or whatever. Of course, she had herself covered. And she said, give me something so I know you're going to give me what you promised me, in order for me to let you sleep with me. He gave her 3 things. When they found out Tamar was pregnant, when he got back home a little while later, he said, bring her out so she can be stoned to death because she has played the part of a prostitute. And she said, okay, before you stone me, father-in-law, let me tell you who the person was who got me pregnant. The person who got me pregnant was the person who owns these three things. As soon as he saw those things, he knew. He was like, oh, shoot. Leave her alone. Go ahead. She is more righteous than I am, you know? So, but he never slept with her again. He repented. And so that's where the twins came from. That's how his daughter-in-law got pregnant by him. All right. Later, Judah had twin sons from Tamar, his widowed daughter-in-law. Their names were Perez and Zerah. So Judah had 5 sons in all. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Zerah were Zimri, Ethan, Heman, Calcol, and Darda, 5 in all. The son of Carmi, a descendant of Zimri, was Achan, who brought disaster on Israel by taking plunder that had been set apart for Yahuwah. The son of Ethan was Azariah. The sons of Hezron were Jeremiel, Ram, and Caleb. Ram was the father of Aminadab. Aminadab was the father of Nahshon, a leader of Judah. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse's first son was Eliab. His second was Aminadab. His third was Shimeah. His fourth was Nathanael. His fifth was Radai. His sixth was Azam. And his seventh was David. Their sisters were named Zeruiah and Abigail. Zeruiah had 3 sons named Abishai, Joab, and Asahel. Abigail married a man named Jether, an Ishmaelite, and they had a son named Amasa. So remember, y'all, we're just going through all the genealogy, so bear with me. You know, some people may just skip over all of this, but when you go through it, especially if you do a lot of research, you will realize that this is really, really important because it'll help you link some stuff together. Most people really don't get it, like I said, unless you really do a lot of research. It'll cause you from getting off track by connecting wrong people. Okay. Hezron's son Caleb had sons from his wife Azubah and from Jerioth. Her sons were named Jesher, Shobab, and Arden. After Azubah died, Caleb married Ephethra, and they had a son named Hur. Hur was the father of Uri. Uri was the father of Bezalel. When Hezron was 60 years old, he married Gilead's sister, the daughter of Machir. They had a son named Segub. Segub was the father of Jair, who ruled 23 towns in the land of Gilead. But Jeshua and Aram captured the towns of Jair and also took Canath and its surrounding 60 villages. All these were descendants of Machir, the father of Gilead. Soon after Hezron died in the town of Caleb Ephethra, his wife Abijah gave birth to a son named Ashur, the father of Tekoa. The sons of Jeremiel, the oldest son of Hezron, were Ram, the firstborn, Bunah, Oren, Ozem, and Ahijah. Jeremiel had a second wife named Atara. She was the mother of Onam. The sons of Ram, the oldest son of Jeremiel, were Maz, Jamin, and Eker. The sons of Onam were Shammai and Jada. The sons of Shammai were Nadab and Abishur. The son of Abishur and his wife Abihail were Aban and Molid. The sons of Nadab were Seled and Apam. Seled died without children, but Apam had a son named Ishi. The son of Ishi was Shishan. Shishan had a descendant named Ali. The sons of Jada, Shammai's brother, were Jether and Jonathan. Jether died without having children, but Jonathan had 2 sons named Peleth and Zaza. Morning, Talain. Shishan had no sons, though he did have daughters. He also had an Egyptian servant named Jarha. Shishan gave one of his daughters to be the wife of Jarha, and they had a son named Attai. Attai was the father of Nathan. Nathan was the father of Zabad. Zabad was the father of Ephal. Ephal was the father of Obed. Obed was the father of Jehu. Jehu was the father of Azariah. Azariah was the father of Helez. Helez was the father of Elisa. Elisa was the father of Sismi. Sismi was the father of Shalom. Shalom was the father of Jechimiah. Shalom was the father of Jechimiah. Jechimiah was the father of Elishama. The descendants of Caleb, the brother of Jerahmeel, included Mesha, the firstborn, who became the father of Ziph. Caleb's descendants also included the sons of Meresha, the father of Hebron. The sons of Hebron were Korah, Tapua, Rekem, and Shema. Shema was the father of Raham. Raham was the father of Joachim. Rekem was the father of Shammai. The son of Shammai was Maon. Maon was the father of Beth-Zur. Caleb's concubine, Ephah, gave birth to Haran, Moza, and Gaziz. Haran was the father of Gaziz. The son of Jadai were Regem, Jotham, Geshem, Pelet, Ephah, and Shaph. Another of Caleb's concubines, Maachah, gave birth to Sheber and Tirhanah. She also gave birth to Shaph, the father of Madmanah, and Sheva, the father of Macbenah and Gibeah. Caleb also had a daughter named Aksah. These were all the descendants of Caleb. The sons of Hur, the oldest son of Caleb's wife, Ephathra, were Shobal, the father of Kiriath Jearim, Salma, the founder of Bethlehem, and Hareph, the founder of Beth Gader. The descendants of Shobal, the founder of Kiriath Jearim, were Horeb, half of the Mehathites, the families of Kiriath Jearim, the Ithrites, Puthites, Shumathites, and Misharites, from who came the people of Zorah and Eshtaol. The descendants of Salma were the people of Bethlehem, the Neophathites, Atrobeth, Joab, the other half of the Mehathites, the Zorites, and the families of the scribes living at Jabez, the Terathites, Shimeathites, and Sukathites. All these were Kenites who descended from Hamath, the father of the family of Rechab. Shalom, shalom, Mom, Belinda Brown, shalom, Josiah, shalom. Okay. First Chronicles chapter 3. Remember, y'all, we're just going through the genealogy, so bear with me. Forgive me ahead of time if I screw up the names. I know I surely will. Not that I'm doing it on purpose, but forgive me. These are the sons of David who were born in Hebron. The oldest was Ammon, whose mother was Ahonim from Jezreel. The second was Daniel, whose mother was Abigail from Carmel. The third was Absalom, whose mother was Maachah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. The fourth was Adonijah, whose mother was Haggith. The fifth was Shephatiah, whose mother was Abital. The sixth was Ithream, whose mother was Eglah, David's wife. These 6 sons were born to David in Hebron, where he reigned 7.5 years. Then David reigned another 33 years in Jerusalem. The sons born to David in Jerusalem included Shemua, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon. Their mother was Bathsheba, the daughter of Amiel. David also had 9 other sons: Ebar, Elishua, Ephelet, Nogah, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Elida, and Eliphalet. These were the sons of David, not including his sons born to his concubines. Their sister was named Tamar. The descendants of Solomon were Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Joram, Ahijah, Joash, Amaziah, Uzzah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Ammon, and Josiah. And all those names should seem very, very familiar. As we were going through Kings, you will see in that order they kept being kicked off the throne, and only a couple of them were Josiah, Hezekiah, and Asa. Out of all of them, those were was Asa? I think Asa. Don't quote me on Asa, but I think Asa was a good king too. I think it was those 3: Asa, Hezekiah, and Josiah. They were the good kings. Everybody else was wicked. And remember, Rehoboam, the first son, the kingdom was ripped during his reign, and he reigned right after Solomon. So I'll read it again. Verse 10. The descendants of Solomon were Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat. Maybe it was Jehoshaphat was good. I'm sorry, not Asa. Okay, not Asa. It was Jehoshaphat. Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, Ahaziah, Joash, Amaziah, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Ammon, and Josiah. The sons of Josiah were Johanan the oldest, Jehoiakim the second, Zedekiah the third, and Jehoahaz the fourth. So remember the Josiah's sons, they also began to reign. The successors of Jehoiakim were his son Jeconiah and his brother Zedekiah. And I believe it was this Zedekiah who got his eyes gouged out. Remember, when he was ruling, that's when the Babylonian king came in and took him, gouged out his eyes after he made him watch them kill all of his, I believe it was 9 sons. So after he saw his sons die, they gouged out his eyes. The sons of Jehoiachin, who was taken prisoner by the Babylonians, were Shealtiel, Malchiram, Pedaiah, Shenazar, Jechemiah, Hoshama, and Nedebiah. The sons of Pedaiah were Zerubbabel and Shimei. The sons of Zerubbabel were Meshullam and Hananiah. Their sister was Shelomith. His 5 other sons were Hashubah, Ohel, Berechiah, Hasadiah, and Jashub Hesed. The sons of Hananiah were Pelatiah and Jeshiah. Jeshiah's sons was Rephiah. Rephiah's son was Arnan. Arnan's son was Obadiah. Obadiah's son was Shechaniah. The descendants of Shechaniah were Shemaiah and his sons Hattush, Egal, Beriah, Neriah, and Shaphat, 6 in all. The sons of Neriah were Elonai, Hiskiah, and Azrikam, 3 in all. The sons of Eloniah were Hodiviah, Elishib, Peliah, Akub, Johanan, Deliah, and Anai, 7 in all. Last chapter for today, 1 Chronicles chapter 4. The descendants of Judah were Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Shobal's son, Reiah, was the father of Johath. Johath was the father of Ahumai and Lahad. These were the families of the Zorathites. The descendants of Etham were Jezreel, Ishma, Idbash, their sister, Hazelelponi, Penuel, the father of Geder, and Ezer, the father of Husha. These were the descendants of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrathah, the ancestor of Bethlehem. Asher, the father of Tekoa, had 2 wives, named Helah and Nara. Nara gave birth to Hazum, Hefer, Timni, and Hashatari. Helah gave birth to Zerah, Ishar, Ethan, and Koz, who became the ancestor of Anob, Zobibah, and all the families of Aharel, son of Harum. There was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers. His mother named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. He was the one who prayed to Yahuwah, the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from all trouble and pain." And Yahuwah granted him his request. Caleb, the brother of Shahuah, was the father of Mehir. Mehir was the father of Eshton. Eshton was the father of Beth Rapha, Paseah, and Taniah. Taniah was the father of Nahash. These were the descendants of Rekha. The sons of Kenaz were Othniel and Sariah. Othniel's sons were Hathath and Meonothai. Meonothai was the father of Orphra. Sariah was the father of Joab, the founder of the Valley of Craftsmen, so called because they were craftsmen. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, were Erah, Elah, and Naam. The son of Elah was Kenaz. The sons of Jehalalel were Ziph, Ziphah, Terah, and Asarel. The sons of Ezra were Jether, Mered, Epher, and Jalon. One of Mered's wives became the mother of Miriam, Shammai, and Ishbak, the father of Eshtemoa. He married a woman from Judah who became the mother of Jared, the father of Gedor, Heber, the father of Soko, and Jekuthiel, the father of Zenoah. Married also married Bithia, the daughter of Pharaoh, and she bore him children. Hodiah's wife was the sister of Naham. One of her sons was the father of Kaliah, the Garmite, and another was the father of Eshtemoa, the Maacathite. The sons of Shimeon were Ammon, Rena, Ben-Hanan, and Tilon. The descendants of Ishi were Zoheth and Ben-Zoheth. Shelah was one of Judah's sons. The descendants of Shelah were the father of Likha, Leda, the father of Merishah, the families of linen workers at Beth Ashbia, Jocham, the men of Cosbah, and Joash and Sarah, who ruled over Moab, and Jashubi Lehem. These names all come from ancient records. They were the pottery makers who lived in Netaim and Gedara. They lived there and worked for the king. The sons of Simeon were Jemiel, Jamin, Jarib, Zohar, and Shaul. The descendants of Shaul were Shalom, Misam, and Mishma. The descendants of Mishma were Hamuel, Zachar, and Shimei. Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but none of his brothers had large families. So Simeon's tribe never grew as large as the tribe of Judah. They lived in Beersheba, Moladah, Hazar Shuel, Bilhah, Ezem, Tolat, Bethuel, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Makarbah, Hazar Susim, Beth Biri, and Sharim. These towns were under their control until the time of King David. Their descendants also lived in Etam and in Rimmon, Tokim, and Ashan, 5 towns and their surrounding villages as far away as Baalah. This was their territory, and these names are listed in their genealogical records. Other descendants of Simeon included Meshobab, Jamlech, Josha, son of Amaziah, Joel, Jehu, son of Joshibiah, son of Sariah, son of Asahel, Elonai, Jekobah, Jeshohaiah, Asaiah, Adiel, Jesimiel, Benaiah, and Ziza, son of Shiphi, son of Alan, son of Jedediah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. These were the names of some of the leaders of Simeon's wealthy clans. Their families grew, and they traveled to the region of Gerar in the east part of the valley, seeking pasture land for their flocks. They found lush pastures there, and the land was spacious, quiet, and peaceful. Some of Ham's descendants had been living in that region, but during the reign of King Hezekiah of Judah, these leaders of Simeon invaded the region and completely destroyed the homes of the descendants of Ham and of the Meunites. No trace of them remains today. They killed everyone who lived there and took the land for themselves because they wanted its good pasture lands for their flocks. 500 of these invaders from the tribe of Simeon went to Mount Seir, led by Pelatiah, Neriah, Rephiah, and Uzziel, all sons of Ishi. They destroyed the few Amalekites who had survived, and they lived there ever since. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was 1 Chronicles 2, 3, and 4. Yanata, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. So let's hop on over here to the Legends of the Jews. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. Esther had just finished her prayer. That was an awesome prayer. I think we should probably take, and not just that, some of the prayers of the prophets, take them and adapt them to today. We can use the ancient names because, they're descendants from those ancient people anyway, or we can change the names to the governments and the the people who rule today, right? And I think the prayer would be just as powerful, especially when you know who you are and whose you are, right? Okay. So page 507, the portion, it says, Esther intercedes. Okay, so she just finished her prayer, and now she's about to intercede. Oh, shucks, y'all, we might be done with this in a day or two. Okay, let's do this. Bring this up. Okay. Shoot, we are only at 25 minutes. We might get done with this today. But anyway, let's go ahead and read and see. Okay, Esther intercedes. After finishing her prayer, Esther betook herself to the king, accompanied by 3 attendants, one walking to the right of her, the second on the other side, and the third bearing her train. Remember her dress, her long train, like women have a long train on their wedding dress. So one on the left and the right, somebody carrying her train. Okay. After finishing her prayer, Esther betook herself to the king, accompanied by 3 attendants, one walking to the right of her, the second on the other side, and the third bearing her train, heavy with the precious stones with which it was studded. Her chief adornment was the Holy Spirit that poured out over her, but scarcely did she enter the chamber containing the idols when the Holy Spirit departed from her, and she cried out in great distress. Eli, oh, wait a minute now, hold on. Eli, Eli, lama azabachthani. Shall I be chastised for the acts that I do against my will, and only in obedience to the promptings of sore need? Hold on, y'all. I need to go check something. I don't remember. I mean, I clearly, but something just popped out to me. Hold on. I got to come back here. Okay. Shall I be chastised for acts that I do against my will, and only in obedience to the promptings of sore need? Why should my fate be different from that of my mother? When Pharaoh only attempted to approach Sarah, plagues came upon him and his house. But I have been compelled for years to live with this heathen, and thou dost not deliver me out of his hand. O Lord of the world, have I not paid scrupulous heed to the 3 commands thou didst specifically ordain for women? To reach the king, Esther had to pass through 7 apartments, each measuring 10 ells in length. The first 3 she traversed unhindered. They were too far off for the king to observe her progress through them. But barely had she crossed the threshold of the 4th chamber when Ahasuerus caught sight of her, and overcame by rage, he exclaimed, "Oh, for the departed, their like is not found again on earth. How I urged and entreated Vashti to appear before me, but she refused, and I had her killed. Therefore, this Esther come hither without invitation, like unto a public prostitute." In consternation and despair, Esther stood rooted in the center of the 4th chamber, having once allowed her to pass through the doors under their charge. The guards of the first 4 rooms had forfeited their authority over her, and the guards in the other 3 rooms she had not yet given cause for interfering with her. Yet the courtiers were so confident that Esther was about to suffer the death penalty that the sons of Heyman were already busy dividing her jewels among themselves and casting lots for her royal purple. Esther herself was keenly aware of her dangerous. Sorry, let me go back. And Esther herself was keenly aware of her dangerous position. In her need, she besought Yahuwah, Eli, Eli, lama azabachthani, and prayed to him the words which have found their place in the Psalter composed by King David. Because she put her confidence in Yahuwah, he answered her. He answered her petition and sent 3 angels to help her. The one enveloped her countenance with the threads of grace. The second raised her head, and the third drew out the scepter of Ahasuerus until it touched her. The king turned his head round to avoid seeing Esther, but the angels forced him to look her way and be conquered by her seductive charm. By reason of her long fast, Esther was so weak that she was unable to extend her hand toward the scepter of the king. The archangel Michael had to draw her near it. Ahasuerus then said, I see thou must have a most important request to prefer, else thou hast not risked thy life deliberately. I am ready to give it to thee, even to half of the kingdom. But there is one petition I cannot grant, and that is the restoration of the temple. I gave my oath to Geshem, the Arabian, Sanballat the Horonite, and Tobiah the Ammonite, not to allow it to be rebuilt, for fear of the Hebrews, lest they rise up against me. Hold on. So when we get, Ma, remember you did that sermon on Nehemiah, on Sanballat and Tobiah, how they was always giving Nehemiah, they was giving him mad trouble trying not to, remember they was going to have it rebuilt. Listen, that makes sense now, right? What it was giving him such a hard time. Listen, I'll read this again. I am ready to give thee even half of the kingdom. There is but one petition I cannot grant, and that is the restoration of the temple. I gave my oath to Geshem, the Arabian, Sanballat the Horonite, and Tobiah the Ammonite, not to allow it to be rebuilt from fear of the Hebrews, lest they rise up against me. For the moment, Esther refrained from uttering her petition. All she asked was that the king and Haman would come to a banquet she proposed to give. She had good reason for this peculiar course of conduct. She desired to disarm Haman's suspicion regarding her Hebrew descent and to lead her fellow Hebrews to fix their hope upon Yahuwah and not upon her. At the same time, it was her plan to arouse jealousy of Haman in both the king, At the same time, it was her plan to arouse jealousy of Haman in both the king and the princes. She was quite ready to sacrifice her own life if her stratagems, if her stratagems or her strategy. She was ready to sacrifice her own life if her stratagems would have but involved the life of Haman too. At the banquet, she therefore favored Haman in such a manner that Ahasuerus could not but be jealous. She moved her chair close to Haman's, and when Ahasuerus handed her his wine cup to let her drink of it first, she passed it on to his minister. After the banquet, the king repeated his question and again made the asseveration that he would fulfill all her wishes at whatever cost, barring only the restoration of the temple. Esther, however, was not yet ready. She preferred to wait another day before taking up the conflict with Haman. She had before her eyes the example of Moses, who also craved a day's preparation before going out against Amalek, the ancestor of Haman. Deceived by the attention and distinction accorded him by Esther, Haman felt secure in his position, priding himself not only on the love of the king, but also on the respect of the queen. He felt himself to be the most privileged in being, He felt himself to be the most privileged being in all the wide realm governed by Ahasuerus. Filled with arrogant self-sufficiency, he passed by Mordecai, who not only refused to give him the honors decreed in his behalf, but besides pointed to his knee. Remember the contract between Mordecai and Heyman, and every time Heyman looked like he was getting a little bit out of pocket, Mordecai pointed to his knee. Remember this? You remember our contract? I got it written on my knee, right? He would stick out his knee and Haman would straighten up, right? Okay. Filled with arrogant self-sufficiency, he passed by Mordecai, who not only refused to give him honors decreed in his behalf, but besides pointed to his knee, inscribed with a bill of sale, whereby Haman had become the slave of Mordecai. Mordecai was pissed because, Haman was pissed because Mordecai wasn't bowing to him, but in all actuality, Haman had sold himself to Mordecai as a slave, but Mordecai didn't make good on that while they were in the kingdom. He was deciding he was going to use that at a later date because Haman owed him a lot of money, because when they were out there on that campaign with their warriors, and some of y'all might know, but some of you may miss it. I keep getting the names mixed up. Haman squandered all the resources that the king had given to him for his men, while Mordecai, he was a very good steward. And when Haman ran out, he kept pleading with Mordecai to help him so his men wouldn't starve. He eventually gave in only after they wrote a contract saying what would happen, when it would happen, and why it happened, right? And so that was the contract written on his knee, where Haman, he couldn't force Mordecai to bow to him like everybody else was bowing to him, but he was pissed about it for real, because he thought it was usurping his authority, which in all actuality, it was. You right, Aliyah. Doesn't it sound familiar with the JC so-called Eli Lama Sabachthani, when all along it was Hadassah, right, who referred to this, shaking my head. Truth always comes out despite what they do. Yo, that's exactly what I was talking about, Aliyah. Look, and your second comment, I'll just read your second comment. Some people don't quite understand that yet. But if you go, I'm gonna read your. And the so-called New Testament is a duplication of the Tanakh with our prophets, whom they created JC from. You're right. There is more detail in that. Not everything in the New Testament has been fabricated, but it's enough leaven added in there where it would make you think the whole thing is suspect. But once you learn the history, you can kind of go back and you can remove the error from the truth. And if you go, like I said, if you go to my YouTube page and you click on my channel and you click on playlists, there is like I said, I cleaned it up the other day and I did a little more cleaning up last night. And I decided to go ahead and add that about the New Testament, where it brings out truth and references about things. And there's another one that I've been debating whether I want to add up there. Some people might just look at it right off time and be like, heresy, no, we ain't even listening to it. But I have shared it privately with some people. But I think I'm going to go ahead and make it unprivate and make it public for those of you that want to get more deeper detail on how the New Testament was actually constructed. Yo, it will blow your mind and make so much sense at the same time, and you will wonder how in the world could you not have seen it, right? And look, and it was only done. Look, it was only done because it wasn't meant to blow up as big as it is today and be a part of the Bible. They never thought it would get that far. They actually created it for a certain thing that they were doing. They had no clue it would go as far as being canonized and added to the Bible as it is today. I'm like, shut your mouth. Look, and I also have a book. It's a really thin pamphlet. I'm not sure how I can add that, but I'm gonna see if I can. What I'll do in my about to section, right? I'll go in there and I'll see if I can. I'll find the online link for the PDF, because there is one, and I'll go in there. I'll add it to my about section. So those of you who want it, I'll send it to you, Shayla. Yes, I'll send it to you. That way you can read through it. Matter of fact, I posted and pinned it in the comment section today too, on Facebook and in YouTube and in the description box. Guys, when I opened it, I couldn't put it down. I'm like, this makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. I'm like, oh my gosh, if people knew what they were doing. I was like, wait a minute, what? And people are running, making life decisions based on something that the what's his face? Josephus and them, his family, Pliny the Younger, all of them jokers, all of them was in cahoots together. Yo, like, y'all, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna put it in there, and like I said, I'm gonna put it in the about to section, and I'll kind of bring people attention to it. And I'm not, maybe also, okay, so also maybe in the playlist, I'll record maybe like a 2-minute video, and I'll pin it in a video. That way it'll be in the playlist, but you will have to go to my video and click in the description box. That way, so it's always there so people can see it. So I'll do that today as well, and I'll pin it that way. And I'll also put it in a playlist for those that need to see it. Boy, I'm telling you, the deceptions and the leaven that is found in the New Testament, but once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it, right? And once you're able to see that, it also opens up a whole nother level in understanding about the Old Testament and the power that was truly flowing through the prophets and the type of miracles that were being performed back then. Those miracles were, in my estimation, they were way more powerful than some of the ones that we see in the new. And matter of fact, some of the ones we see in the new were not actually miracles that were performed then, but they were actually stolen from Old Testament. I hate using the word Old Testament, but they pulled from the older scrolls and kind of mixed up. So there are stories in the New Testaments that are mixations, if that's such a word, but they are combinations of different stories found in the Old Testament. But once you see it, once your eyes is open to it, you will be able to pinpoint them precisely and find out where they came from, under what king. It's so, I'm not gonna get it all to you, but I'm just like, yo, y'all have got to read this. Like I said, some people, they just like, oh, heresy right off bat, because anytime you say JC, well, you might want to consider this. It's the church has already, they've already programmed you that if you speak anything against this, you're speaking against your own salvation, and you're damning yourself to hell, right? Mom, yes.
Your mind think him doing.
What does your mind think him doing?
Yes, I'm going with Dad.
Yeah, he's going with Dad this morning.
And I'm going with Dad.
No, you can't go with Dad to work today, baby.
Yeah.
On Jeremiah. See, he got his workbooks on. He ready to rock and roll. But I'm going to share that, y'all. So, like I said, I posted in today's video, and I also record a couple-minute video. And I'll see if I can like do a screenshot where I can put the picture of it. And y'all just got to read that and look into that stuff and really go up, pull up some references. That's why a lot of times, hey guys, calm down. That's why a lot of times I don't refer to a lot of Josephus' stuff, right? He was a good historian, but his family, the Josephus', all of them, they are very, very good storytellers, right? I ain't never seen nobody write literature like them. They will take real live historical facts. Yes, baby girl. Okay, Jeremiah, please don't agitate her first thing this morning. They'll take real live historical things, and they will add in so much leaven and make it, and they were smart here, and they were knowledgeable about a lot of historical facts, and they were able, based on what they knew, they were able to properly link up historical facts, well, real historical facts, with their created historical facts, and make it seem like it was a real story. And they added all kinds of fluff and leaven into stuff. But once you see it, that's why I constantly tell you, I say, y'all have to read over the Old Testament, get familiar with it. You have to go through it. Just start off reading like it was a book. Understand it, right? Understand how Yahuwah operates, how he speaks. Because once you do that, it will automatically enlighten your spirit, your whole soul, to whereas when you get over into the New Testament, it brings a halting stop. to a lot of stuff. And I think I shared with y'all before, I think in like in the second year of reading through this, I fell asleep one time. I fell asleep listening to the books of the prophets, right? I started in, I want to say it was Ezekiel where I started. And for days I had just constantly let it play, right? I constantly let it play. So when I fell asleep, and it happened, it was almost like 6 o'clock in the morning on the dot, right? The Bible was playing in my ear. I had one headphone in my ear, letting it play, right? And so when it got to the New Testament, when it got to the chapter where JC actually began to speak, I cannot explain to you the jolt that I got. It literally shook me. When I say I was shaken awake, I was shaken awake, and I was completely disturbed all on the inside. Imagine it had been a couple years since I had been back just reading through the New Testament. I was strict. I'm like, Father, I need to hear you. I need to know how you operate, what you're saying, right? So for a couple years, I had only been filling myself with the Old Testament, with the prophets, because that's what Yahuwah told me to do. He said, read the books of the prophets. And so that's what I had been doing for a couple years. So it's all inside of me. And when I got there was an immediate disruption. There was an immediate red flag that happened on the inside of me. And I was jolted awake. I'm like, I literally woke up just like that. And I knew immediately what it was. I'm like, what is that I was hearing? Right. And I snatched my headphones out of my ear. And I realized I opened up my phone and it was in Matthew. And I believe it was chapter 5. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, I was upset. It jolted me. I'm like, why did it do that to me like that? And it literally felt like I had been sucked dry. It was like my whole body was dry. You ever wake up and you feel dehydrated to where even like your eye sockets feel dry? And my mouth was dry and it felt like my lips were white. And I'm like, and I got some water. I'm like, what in the world? And it bothered me for days. I shared it with my mom and my sister. I'm like, this is crazy. What is this? And I'll never forget that day. So that's why I tread lightly. Even when I go back there to pull stuff and I explain stuff to people, I tread lightly with that. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to tread lightly with some of that because I have had real life physical experiences since I started filling myself with the words of Yah, with the stuff that is completely detrimental to your soul that has been added back here. So that's why I'm like, Father, I really want to share this. I'm like, some people just like, ooh, they write you off as a heretic and stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm telling you from personal experience and what has been happening to me since I started filling myself with the words of Yah alone, right? So I'm going to add that there. And y'all just, it's there for y'all. Do your own research, your own stuff, but I'm sharing my personal experiences so you can be aware, be looking out for stuff. And then you tell me what you come across. Tell me what you find. If you experience anything, share it with us, Okay. So I just wanted to say that. So I started all that with the Eli Lama Sabachthani, right? Okay. But Josephus was a mess. Like if you don't know, you would think he was one of the most wise. Oh, you did all this. No, you and your whole family, my G, you got a special place in eternity waiting for y'all. Like seriously. And what they have done through the letter of the law, right? Through paper and pen, they have done more detriment. They have created more bondage than people who created balls and chains, right? Because it happens here and it happens here. And people really believe lies like they were true until people like us come through and begin to break their state of mind, the spells that have been put on their minds and their hearts so they can see the truth, right? Okay, so let me go ahead.
No, these types of not ain't gonna be listening to nobody.
Okay. All right, y'all. So let me go back up to here. So we definitely not gonna finish this today because I added in all that stuff. So we'll probably be finished with this tomorrow. Okay. Deceived by the attention and distinction accorded to him by Esther, Heyman felt secure in his position, priding himself not only on the love of the king, but also on the respect of the queen. He felt himself to be the most privileged being in all the wide realm governed by Ahasuerus. Filled with arrogant self-sufficiency, he passed by Mordecai, who not only refused to give him the honors decreed in his behalf, but besides pointed to his knee, inscribed with the bill of sale, whereby Haman had become the slave of Mordecai. Doubly and triply enraged, he resolved to make an example of the Hebrew, but he was not satisfied with inflicting death by a simple kick. On reaching his home, he was disappointed. On reaching his home, he was disappointed not to find his wife Zeresh. I'm gonna see you upstairs. Chill. On reaching his home, he was disappointed not to find his wife Zeresh, the daughter of the Persian satrap Tattenai. As always, when Haman, she had gone to her paramours. He sent for her and his 365 advisors, and with them he took counsel as to what is to be done to Mordecai. Pointing to a representation of his treasure chamber, which he wore on his bosom, he said, "And all this is worthless in my sight when I look upon Mordecai the Hebrew. What I eat and drink loses its savor, but if I but think of him." Among his advisors and sons, of whom there were 208, none was so clever as Zeresh, his wife. She spoke thus: "If the man thou tellest of is a Hebrew, thou wilt not be able to do aught to him except by sagacity. If thou castest him into the fire, it will have no effect upon him. For Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah escaped from the burning furnace unhurt. Joseph went free from prison. Manasseh prayed to Yahuwah, and he heard him and saved him from the iron furnace. To drive him out in the wilderness is useless. Thou knowest the desert did no evil to the Israelites that passed through it. Putting out his eyes avails not, for Samson blind did more mischief than Samson ever did seeing. Therefore hang him, for no Hebrew has ever escaped death by hanging." Think about that.
Sound a little bit white nigga right there.
Yeah. So they know. The enemies of Yahuwah and Yahuwah's people know, which is why hanging, like my son just said, lynching was very famous, right? Very famous. A very famous thing for them to do to our people. And if you know history, you will understand why, right? And then they add that little thing upon it: cursed is everybody that hangs upon the tree, right? All this stuff starts to make sense when you get a little bit of history, right? Look. Haman was well pleased with the words of his wife. She fetched artificers in iron and wood, the former to erect the cross, the latter to make the nails. Their children danced around in glee while Zeresh played. Hold on. What's this? Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Call interrupted. Sorry. Okay. I hope that didn't mess with the volume. Okay. Haman was well pleased with the words of his wife. She fetched artificers in wood and iron, the former to erect the cross, the latter to make the nails. Their children danced around in high glee, while Zeresh played upon the cithern, and Haman in his pleasurable excitement said, "To the woodworkers I shall give abundant pay, and the iron workers I shall invite to a banquet." When the cross was finished, Haman himself tested it to see that all was in working order. A heavenly voice was heard: "It is good for Haman the villain, and for the son of Hammedatha it is fitting." Oh, okay. The heavenly voice was saying that this is good to hang him on. Okay. A heavenly voice was heard. It is good for Haman the villain and for the son of Hammedatha. It is fitting. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll read this next section. The disturbed night. The night during which Haman erected the cross for Mordecai was the first night of Passover, the very night in which miracles without number had ever been done for the fathers of Israel. But this time, the night of joys was changed into a night of mourning and a night of fears. Wherever there were Hebrews, they passed in the night weeping and lamenting. The greatest terrors it held for Mordecai because his own people accused him of having provoked their misfortunes by his haughty behavior toward Haman, which is the same thing they did towards Moses, right? When they was about at the brink of their freedom, things got a little bit harder for them, and they accused Moses. They said, "You came in here, you got Pharaoh and his men all riled up. Now we got to make bricks without straw. Everything is harder since you came into the picture." Moses, they were blind, they couldn't see nothing, right? Freedom was right around the corner.
So
They did the same thing to Mordecai. Like, okay, so let's see. The greatest terrors it held for Mordecai because his own people accused him of having provoked their misfortunes by his haughty behavior toward Haman. Excitement and consternation reigned in heaven as well as on earth. When Haman had satisfied himself that the cross intended for his enemy was properly constructed, he repaired to the Bet HaMidrash, where he found Mordecai and all the Hebrew school children, 22,000 in number, in tears and sorrow. He ordered them to be put in chains, saying, "First I shall kill off these, and then I shall hang Mordecai." The mothers hastened thither with bread and water and coaxed their children to take something before they had to encounter death. The children, however, laid their hands upon their books and said, "As our teacher Mordecai liveth, we will neither eat nor drink, but we will perish exhausted with fasting." Oh, that we were like the children, right? Yo. They rolled up their sacred scrolls and handed them to their teachers with the words, "For our devotion to the study of the Torah, we had hoped to be rewarded with long life according to the promise held out in the Holy Scriptures. As we are not worthy thereof, remove the books." The outcries of the children and the teachers in the Beth HaMidrash and the weeping of the mothers without, united with the supplications of the fathers, reached unto heaven in the third hour of the night. And Yahuwah said, "I hear the voice of tender lambs and sheep." Moses arose and addressed Yahuwah thus: "Thou knowest well that the voices are not of lambs and sheep, but of the young of Israel, who for 3 days have been fasting and languishing in fetters, only to be slaughtered on the morrow to the delight of the arch enemy." Then Yahuwah felt compassion with Israel for the sake of his innocent little ones. He broke the seal with which the heavenly decree of annihilation had been fastened, and the decree itself he tore in pieces. From this moment on, Ahasuerus became restless, and sleep was made to flee his eyes, for the purpose that the redemption of Israel might be brought to pass. Yahuwah sent down Michael, the leader of the host of Israel, who was to keep sleep from the king, and the archangel Gabriel descended and threw the king out of his bed on the floor. No less than 365 times, continually whispering in his ear, "O thou ingrate, reward him who deserves to be rewarded." To account for his sleeplessness, Ahasuerus thought he might have been poisoned, and he was about to order the execution of those charged with the preparation of his food. They succeeded in convincing him of their innocence by calling to his attention that Esther and Haman had shared his evening meal with him, yet they felt no unpleasant effects. Then suspicions against his wife and his friend began to arise in his mind. He accused them inwardly of having conspired together to put him out of the way. He sought to banish this thought with the reflection that if a conspiracy had existed against him, his friends would have warned him of it. But the reflection brought others in its train. Did he have any friends? Was it not possible that by leaving valuable services unrewarded, he had forfeited the friendly feelings toward him? He therefore commanded that the Chronicles of the kings of Persia be read to him.
Yeah, I made that man down bad. He is all the way tripping.
Yeah, he is tripping. He would compare his own acts with what his predecessors had done and try to find out whether he might count upon friends. What was read to him did not restore his tranquility of mind, for he saw a poor man before him, none other than the angel Michael, who called to him continually, Haman wants to kill thee and become king in thy stead. Let this serve thee as proof that I am telling thee the truth. Early in the morning, he will appear before thee and request permission of thee to kill him who saved thy life. And when thou inquirest of him what honor should be done to him whom the king delighted to honor, he will ask thee to be given the apparel, the crown, and the horse of the king as signs of distinction. Ahasuerus' excitement was soothed only when the passage in the Chronicles was reached describing the loyalty of Mordecai. Had the wishes of the reader been consulted, Ahasuerus had never heard this entry, for it was a son of Heyman who was filling the office of reader, and he was desirous of passing the incident over in silence. But a miracle occurred. The words were heard, though they were not uttered. He passed over it, but a miracle happened where the words that Haman's son passed over, they were heard by the king's ears. Let's see, I read this again. Ahasuerus' excitement was soothed only when the passage in the Chronicles was read, describing the loyalty of Mordecai. Had the wishes of the reader been consulted, Ahasuerus had never heard this entry, for it was a son of Haman who was filling the office of reader, and he was desirous of passing the incident over in silence. But a miracle occurred. The words were heard, though they were not uttered. The names of Mordecai and Israel had a quieting influence upon the king, and he dropped asleep. He dreamed that Haman, sword in hand, was approaching him with evil intent, and when early in the morning Haman suddenly appeared without being announced, entered the antechamber and awakened the king, Ahasuerus was persuaded of the truth of his dream. The king was still further set against Haman by the reply he gave to the question, how honor was to be shown to the man whom the king delighted to honor. Believing himself to be the object of the king's goodwill, he advised Ahasuerus to have his favorite arrayed in the king's coronation garments and the royal crown put upon his head. Before him, one of the grandees of the kingdom was to run, doing herald's service, proclaiming that whosoever did not prostrate himself and bow down before him whom the king delighted to honor would have his head cut off and his house given over to pillage. Haman was quick to notice that he had made a mistake, but he saw the king's countenance change color at the mention of the word crown. He therefore took good care not to refer to it again. In spite of this precaution, Ahasuerus saw, in the words of Haman, a striking verification of his vision, and he was confident that Haman cherished designs against his life and his throne. And this is where we will pause today, beautiful people. Matter of fact, and I think we're going to be done with this tomorrow. If I don't add in any of my stories or anything that comes to me while we're reading, we're going to be done with this book, 513 pages, tomorrow. Yo, it's been a good ride, right? We learned so much. So good. The wisdom that edifies us, help us understand the scriptures better. It's so good. All right. So we read First Chronicles chapter 2, 3, and 4. And we read Legends of the Jews, page 507 to page 510. It is Thursday, beautiful people. No, he ready. Get up walking about the decks 4 a.m. in the morning. He's playing. Okay, y'all. It is Thursday, April the 29th, 2021, day 140 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 809. That's 809. That is without the Sabbath days and the feast day Sabbath days added into the count. Why? Because we rest on those days like Yahuwah has commanded us to. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. Remember, man or woman can take the Nazirite vow. All right. Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, y'all. You're welcome, Aliyah. You're welcome. Okay, y'all. So once I'm done here, I'm going to go ahead and add that stuff, and I'm going to record this little short video explaining this book, and I'm going to put that PDF link inside the video and add it in the playlist about that's explaining about the I forget the title of it. But anyway, it's 2 in there now. 2 playlists. No. One of the playlists specifically New Testament Deceptions, I think is what I named it. And the other one is Who is the Son of Yah? And in that is a playlist of other things that we talked about. But the third one that I'm going to make public in a few minutes is it's another one, New Testament Deceptions. So just look for New Testament. Those are the ones you need to look for, where you can see all the stuff that we was talking about a little bit earlier. So you can find out a lot of the leaven that has been added back there, right? And it'll help you begin to discern truth from error, right? What's good and what's not good, what you should not be taking into. If you have taken some of this stuff into you, go to Yah and get purged of it, right? So you can be pure. Completely pure with Yah's words alone, right? Yah's words is like a fire and a hammer, and it'll help you go in and break up some of those lies and stuff. But you have to be able to spot the lies. And I didn't come into that like right when I first started. It was a couple years where I was just going, I'd say maybe a year and a half before Yahuwah kind of boarded across my face. I'm like, ooh, wait, what? What is this? I move in slowly, just making sure I'm not being taken in by deceptions and stuff, so you got to kind of look at stuff. But then that night where I fell asleep listening to the prophets and I woke up and I was jolted awake, it was at that moment where I knew, wait a minute. And that's when I went, and that stuff that Yahuwah was bringing to me a few weeks earlier, let me Google, because I couldn't find out what because I just wrote it off and I didn't think about it again. But I was putting in all kind of keywords. Where did I find this? What was this under? And I finally found it. I was like, oh shoot. I'm like, what? All right. Love you. Y'all gotta say. All right, so I'll add all that stuff in there. So with that being said, I love y'all, and I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't think I saw any questions from anybody. Dana says she got a running list of New Testament verses that are duplicates of the Tanakh. Yes, it's a whole bunch of them. I'm like, when you go through it, I was like, yep, they stole that from here. Yep, they completely pulled it out of context. They said this was done right here. No, Yahuwah clearly said this was fulfilled right here. Let go, look right here. Look. Yeah. Dana also said, why can't JC think of his own words of wisdom to share? Sketchy. Okay, let me check over here. Any questions over here? Oh, sweet. You say you've been watching the playlist. Golly, y'all. Sweet. Yes, my mama said yes. We need all our daddy's records back. We're coming for all of them. We're coming for all our daddy's records. Okay, y'all. All right, that was it. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. That's it. So I'm done. I just wanted to read over those real quick, make sure I didn't miss questions. All right. So that's it. I love y'all. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning. Peace.